Well, it's one of those things you don't pay attention to it until it has to come out. You gotta stop.
All right, thanks for coming, guys. I have one job here. That is to ruin the live stream. Sorry, babe. And I'm going to read my intro, and then Life and Beck is going to take over, okay? Yeah.
Is that on?
No, it's not. I just have to.
Okay.
I hope it works. No. But thanks. Well, if I got a good picture of the room,
Okay.
you know, it's all, that's good. Okay. I'm a professional, guys. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I'm pretty sure that most of you only just kind of know that Melissa and I asked you to come here to give some money. And for some reason, you still showed up. My role is really just this quick introduction. As always, I'm just showing up, contributing almost nothing, saying too much, and asking for money. Good news, though, is that Melissa required me to keep this under one page and keep the script. Thank you, Melissa, for building everything and putting it all together, and Selmy for helping. And the biggest thing to Hubert and Minju and everyone at Life Impact for giving us this chance. Do it again. So why are we here? We heard something about a baby shower, but no gifts for the baby. That seems dumb. That was me when I was in your position 4 years ago, or something like that. We're like totally ripping this idea off. Friends of ours did the same thing, and we showed up clueless. We didn't know what's going on, and you guys probably feel that way, but if you feel that way, it's all good. It'll make sense. I was probably a jerk to Melissa that day. I was complaining about missing out on Call of Duty or something like that. And probably some husbands did that, something like that coming here today too. And to those husbands, I hope you'll leave feeling the same way I left feeling back then. Like I had finally done something truly impactful for the human beings who need the most. Way more than anybody we likely will ever meet in our entire lives. It's a really good feeling. I remember well, but I cried a lot. And if you know me, that's stunning. Not the crying. It's actually stunning that I remembered something. So I'm really, really glad that you guys made it here today, and everyone can watch online. So in summary, the baby shower part of this event is just like a cheap marketing trick. I'm sorry, it's just a cheap marketing trick to force people who love us into giving us their attention for an hour or two. I think Minju is insisting on praying for our baby at some point during this event, which we love, but in reality, our baby has almost zero to do with this event. He or she is pretty much just a mascot. The truth is that our child will always have way, way more than he or she will ever possibly need, at least in terms of physical needs, simply because we live here in America. And he or she will probably take it for granted for pretty much his or her entire life, in the same way that we pretty much all do, whether we want to or not. So I do hope that someday he or she appreciates that after this event, we'll kind of all associate him or her with this ministry. Okay, so what is this ministry and what problems does it solve? Because the things that we care about today are like high gas prices, gender pronouns, inflation, those dang political activists on whatever the other side is from you. It's all good, but no. What this ministry does, what this ministry solves is so much more important that it's almost offensive to even discuss these topics in our polite society. But it is the daily, very real life of millions of humans who reclaim the value. Okay. And say words that are uncomfortable. The rape, slavery, and sex trafficking of young children. Children no different than our own children, nieces, nephews, and grandchildren. Today we have the rare chance to actually live up to those values. So this is a baby shower, don't mistake it. It's just for hundreds of other beautiful children who actually need it, not for our children. We know the reality is that most of us will walk out of these doors in an hour and probably get back to our lives in our polite society. So all I want to ask is that you listen while you're in this room to this reality while you can. And I'm so sorry to say that it will probably hurt you to be here today. But in our repetitive lives of tasks and the empty fantasy entertainment, I promise that today will at least be stunningly, feel stunningly and unavoidably like real life. And there's a big blessing in that. You might cry today, but this will be one Sunday afternoon in 2022 that you will not forget or regret. Specifically, no matter how much you stretch your budgets today for donations, and from the bottom of my heart, please do. You will not regret a single cent that you donated today. I guarantee the only regret that you might have is that you didn't help more. So thank you in advance for your generosity, sincerely. You will understand here shortly just how much it matters. So with no further ado, please give your formal.
I hear from what my takeaway, Chris, that was beautiful. It was great. But you said that they're going to stay here for another hour, so I have an hour here. My name is Hubert Kim. My wife and I time with Rana. I just wanted to come and share a little bit about what the ministry is about, what they're doing in Brazil, in Thailand, and in Burma. And my goal is that after this brief time that I have to share with you, you'll have an understanding of what the ministry is about. Before I jump in, Lana, she's an excellent orator. She speaks really well, really fast. But she did prepare a reading for you all, so let me share this with you.
Hello, Melissa and Chris. Congratulations on your baby shower and your very special day. This just means so very much to us. I'm coming to you from the Promised Land in Thailand on the Thai-Burma border. I always love things like this because it's so significant to God. I just feel like baby's life has been marked by this moment, and you taking this very special day to give to children around the world that have been exploited or are extremely at risk. It's such a marker for your child's life, and that you can tell your child at the beginning of your life, we consecrated and we dedicated your life to helping children around the world. Your life is significant. I feel like it says so much. It's not just a one-time act. I feel like it's going to be the marker of your child's life, that your child will be born into this, of reaching and helping in their life, making a difference. And I just want to tell you, like, this is such a significant and precious thing to us. It's not a little thing. It's such a beautiful thing. The Bible said that children are the blessing of the womb, and that they are reward from the Lord. And so we just thank you for sowing this blessing, for giving us this blessing that you have, for sharing this blessing of your child's birth, and sowing that seed into children in Thailand, in Burma, in Brazil, and just sowing that life of significance, sowing that seed of a life of significance into them, and just honestly just marking this special day, this special moment for God and for your child. And I just thank you. I say that this is just the beginning of your child's life. Your child is marked for greatness, for significance in the kingdom of God. This is just the start, and just even before birth, that you are dedicating and consecrating your child's life to the service and to the reaching and to the impact of lives around the world. We say it like this at Life Impact: change a life, change the world. I just believe that your child's life is already changing lives, and so thus your child is going to change the world. Thank you all for being a part of this beautiful, significant day. We love you all, we thank you all. Swadika.
So that's Lana. She's sending us the greeting from Thailand. And I want to just give you background on who Lana is, what Life Impact is. So Lana Vasquez, she was born in California. She grew up here. When she was 19, she had a radical conversion to Jesus. And just her life story is amazing. I can't get into all the detail here. It's not my story. But she was really marked at that time that when she was young in her teens, she had a radical encounter with Jesus and her life was changed. And from that point on, she had a passion to see the young children and teenagers come to Jesus. So we met Lana through a youth retreat that we organized, and I hear her speak and was just moved by the words that she has and the message that she has of the gospel of the love of Jesus Christ, but also her passion for the children. Part of her vision had been to see, she was on tours around different parts of the world at one point and saw in Brazil, babies were literally thrown in the garbage, right? There were so many children, unwanted children, and then also children that were raised there would be raised and then trafficked, and in some cases trafficked for as something as little as a pack of cigarettes, or, and children as young as 10, 12 years old are being trafficked in extreme regions of extreme poverty. So her vision was, what can she do to stop and help the children of the world in at least a small way? And this was more than 20 years ago. She had this vision to go to Brazil. As she was starting out in her early 20s, she ended up in Thailand, intending to stay for just a few months, and she ended up staying there for more than a decade and started a home raising children in Thailand. So getting a little bit ahead of myself, I want to talk a little bit about what's happening in Brazil today. And then we'll talk about Burma and Thailand. Brazil is actually the #2 country in the world for child trafficking. And it's not well known that that's happening in that country that frequently and to that extent. But there's stories, she was telling us this story just this week, they're doing work in the favelas outside of Rio, so like poor areas of Rio de Janeiro. And there are truck drivers who are driving in and out of the favelas, and sometimes they'll have children in there that are obviously being trafficked and taken away for trafficking purposes. And the police, they don't stop them because it's so prevalent. But if you take a caged bird, like there's some tropical birds there, and you're going out with a caged bird, the police will stop you and question you because they know that that's there's more value in their eyes of an animal than of a child's life, and that's really what the heart and the passion of Life Impact in Brazil is doing. So today in Brazil, Life Impact is starting rescue homes. They're in parts of the north of the city, in Rio de Janeiro, in some of the favelas. They're starting soccer programs so that these boys who are growing up in extreme poverty and they see drug traffickers, and that's their role models, because that's what they see. They see the guys who are dealing in drugs and selling drugs, get some wealth, some money, some status in the society, and that's what they aspire to. And so Life Impact has one small project that they're trying to do, set up a soccer program, so that they'll take 100 boys and train them, not just boys, but 100 students, 100 children, and train them to play soccer so they grow up and have aspirations to do something other than dealing drugs. Life Impact's there, as the shirt says, prevent, rescue, heal. So the prevention part is really giving children in these poverty-stricken areas alternatives than being sold into trafficked areas, whether it's through ministry to the families, helping impoverished areas with food, Bible training programs or Bible school programs in these impoverished areas. Secondly, Lana has spent a lot of time in Thailand and Burma, and so she's on the Burma-Thai border. We hear today a lot about the war going on in the Ukraine. My heart really goes out to what's happening over there. For the past 6 to 9 months, there's also a war going on in Burma. And like this summer, it was hitting the news here in the US But now, we're not getting any fee from that. Like, it's not, the US interests in Burma are so small, it doesn't affect the press. But the border that we were on, where we were staying in Thailand, it's literally, you see across the river, and that's the country of Burma or Myanmar. And there was a military coup, there's a forceful removal of the government, and hundreds of thousands of people are now displaced. And what's happening in Ukraine, there are refugees that are crossing the border and they have a place to go. In Burma, they don't have any place to go. Thailand is closing the border to these people from Burma because there's no more capacity. So they're called internally displaced persons. So in the country of Burma today, there are 200,000 internally displaced persons that are flying, that are looking for housing, that are camping out in the jungle, they're camping out in the forests, because their villages are literally being burned and bombed by the Burmese military. This really hit home for me personally because my wife and I, we took our 3 kids to Thailand in the summer of 2019. And so my oldest son, Josiah, he's now 19, got to know, and he did for 4 weeks, he was with Life Impact, helping them develop some of their computer database in their system to manage what they're doing. And he got to know some of these kids. So this is Josiah and Zohib and Kinshi. And Zohib and Kinshi, they're from the Chin tribe, which is from Burma. And honestly, today, I don't know where these guys are, but they're the fighting age. And these are the age of the kids that are being shot and killed. And they're literal guerrilla warfare against the Burmese military in Burma right now. And it breaks my heart to think what's happening there. However, what Life Impact is doing now is they're doing ministry outreach, taking food, taking supplies over into Burma to help service these children and these families. They have 2 rescue homes. They had 2 rescue homes in Burma to help children who were at risk of being trafficked. So that's the rescue part. Like, they would take children in and raise them so that they aren't trafficked into the sex trade that's happening in that part of the world. And they're continuing to do ministry in that area to help. But if you could take a moment today, if you pray for Burma, pray for peace, that there will be peaceful resolution to what's happening over there. And finally, I want to talk about Thailand. In Thailand, there's a prevent, there's rescue, and heal. So in Thailand, it's sort of the model that Lana has set up. That's the place where she first started her ministry to these children. And today, there's a land called the Promised Land, and it's 10 acres, 20 acres, I'm not sure. It's a pretty sizable tract of land that over time she prayed and they were able to get rights to. They built a wall around it, and really it is the Promised Land. It's like there's fruit trees growing there. They're able to raise chickens now. They have a fish farm and vegetables. Inflation in Thailand, if you're following what's happening geopolitically, there's also a military coup in Thailand, and inflation there is rampant. And so by having the ability to have some independence from the macroeconomic trends of what's going on, they can feed themselves. They still need to buy feed, like feed for the chickens, etc. But there's more stability. The model that they have in Thailand is they have 87 children that get rescued. These children would be trafficked. They're at risk of being trafficked into this global sex trade, and they would bring them into families. And this family, so it's not an orphanage. Each house, they have houses. So in each house, there's 2 house parents, and in that they will have up to 6, 8, 10 children in the home, and that's their forever mom and dad. And those children are raised in that home and taken out of really difficult situations where their parents are trafficking them for a pack of cigarettes or for drugs or for other, So now today, what's happening in Thailand is the first generation of these children that were rescued by Life Impact are now being graduating. So they're getting to 16, 17, 18, 19. They were rescued from being trafficked. They have, like Zohib and Kinshi, they can speak English, they can speak Thai, they can speak Burmese. They're actually well positioned to help the rescue operation of Life Impact, and some of them are coming back to work with Life Impact to help reach other children and help reach other people who are at risk in that area. And also, even with what's happening with COVID over the last 2 years, they're experiencing revival in the promised land of Thailand. So it's a praise report. It's exciting to see what's happened. And that model of what Life Impact has done in Thailand is the model that they're replicating in other Southeast Asian countries. Southeast Asian governments are looking at Life Impact as a model for how can they set up rescue homes and places to rescue children out of being trafficked, out of this risk. And this is also the same model that they're taking and implementing in Brazil. So let me share a quick video with you of what's happening in Brazil, and then my wife is going to come up in a moment and speak of this. Yeah, logistically, so we have some of these, this brown card should be on your table, or there's some at the table in the back there. So if you do want to donate, you can fill this out and share, or I guess they're on the back. And there's magazines and more information that for you and a postcard. So a lot of merch, and we're selling merchandise, t-shirts as well. It will all go to support the ministry.
For 17 years, we've been fighting child exploitation on the Thai border. We came with the whole thing, prevent, rescue, heal. That's been our motto. That's been what we've done. We were the first government-recognized safe home on our border, and we were fighting child trafficking, child exploitation, child slavery, children involved in prostitution. The government, the Kingdom of Thailand, has adopted our model, the Prevent, Rescue, Heal model, and they want to take it and pioneer it all over the borders of Southeast Asia. And so it's a proven model. We really believe that this whole time that we've been being prepared for such a time as this for Brazil. And what I've always seen and what I've always believed is Thailand is the mothership. Thailand is the prototype. Thailand is basically the example and the base. But I've seen this model, Prevent, Rescue, Heal, launched all throughout Brazil and all over Latin America. I really believe this. I believe that it's kind of like David and Goliath in the Bible. That there was this giant for 17 years. I killed the lion, I killed the bear, and now who's this giant? And in that story with that, you see that giant, it says it terrorized the people, oppressed the people for 40 days and 40 nights. And when all the armies of the living God they step back, don't bother the giant, don't get the giant upset. The giant roared and oppressed the people. And if when everybody else stepped back, he saw a little shepherd boy going forward. And he looked around and he said, isn't there a cause? Isn't there a cause? Don't you guys see? Our God was faithful, he'll be faithful again. And we can take this giant. And that's what I believe for Brazil. That God wants to take down the giant of child exploitation in our generation right here, right now, in this time. And I believe that we've been being prepared for this for 17 years, and now Brazil will come and feed. God can use what is in your hands to prevent, rescue, and heal some of the most at-risk, exploited, and vulnerable children in Brazil and around the world. We just want to thank you for partnering with us. We want to thank you for enabling us to go out to find the children, to prevent them from being involved in any kind of exploitation, to rescue them out of these situations, and to heal them, bring healing to their hearts, healing to their minds, healing to their bodies. And we just want to thank you with all of our hearts, what you do that's just going to change the narrative and change the story in a child's life forever. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, I just wanted to share a quick story, and I'm going to ask them so we can pray for them and bless them. When we were in Thailand in 2019 with the children, Hubert had left us because he had to work, but we stayed. And there was this baby, a 2-month-old baby, and I was naturally drawn to this baby because my babies are all grown up. And the story is that this baby was abandoned, and Yeah, she was abandoned, and because Life Impact has a presence on the border, Life Impact gets called by the hospital, like there's an abandoned baby. And so they took her in, but the other piece is that Life Impact doesn't have the resources at times to take in babies, because babies take a lot more resources in terms of formula, diapering, and all this stuff, and even just more care, obviously. So they can't just put a newborn baby into one of those house units that my husband spoke about. But as I'm holding this baby, I thought, and they named her Esther, and I thought, oh my gosh, like, and even my daughters were like, we should take her home. And I'm like, and I was sharing pictures with my husband, and he's like, bring her home. My friends were like, bring her home, we'll help you raise her. If it was that easy, I think we would have brought her home. But that point being that there are babies literally being left, not just in hospitals and stuff. And it's heartbreaking when you see a little life and you see, lots of little ones here. And what a blessing for Melissa and Chris, when you guys come up, that their baby is so blessed, as are the little ones. And so just knowing that this baby is going to be taken care of and what they're doing is significant, as Lana said, that, traditional baby shower. We had 3, actually, and our firstborn had like 5 showers. Okay, so it's not, but for them to take the stand and say that they wanted to do something more for the kingdom of God is such a blessing. And so we just wanted to bless them. And so I don't know if you want to just stretch out your hands and just, and it's okay. I just want to bless them and pray for them. Yeah, and so, and I don't know if anyone feels led to say a prayer, welcome to, and I'll pray. Jesus, we come before you today, and we know that every life is precious, and we know that every life is a miracle. So we bless you. Even now, I'm still safe in Melissa's womb, that this baby has been formed and created wonderfully and creatively, and we are excited, I'm sure. Melissa and Chris and the grandparents and family and friends are so excited to meet this little one. And God, we know, even as John the Baptist got excited in his mother's womb when he came face to face with Mary when she was pregnant, we know that your spirit comes alive in children, and that there is no age that is too young, God, to recognize who you are and the goodness of your love. And so, God, we pray for this little one, that this little one would come into this world roaring like a lion, strong and fierce and confident of who he or she is in you, that they're loved, that they're well taken care of. And with that love and that care, that they would go out into this world. And as Lana said, that they would change the world. That we say it's impossible, but with you all things are possible. So we thank you, God, for Chris and Melissa too, that they would take a stand like this. Would you continue to fill them with wisdom and grace, lots of grace as they parent, that at times there can be times that they're going to throw up their hands and be like, God, oh my God. But give them the peace and the joy that only a child can bring. So we just pray that you would fill their hearts and fill their family from now until the baby is born, for safe delivery, for everything to go smoothly. And in the first month when it's so crazy, that you would give Melissa the rest that she needs, and that you would continue to raise up this family, that they would be marked to further the kingdom of God. In Jesus' name.
That's it? Cool. I don't have anything to say. Well, so if everyone's had food, I think we have some desserts in the back. I would really encourage everyone to cake too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so there is a couple ways you can donate. You can stop by the table in the back. I'll throw up a slide so you can see there's a way to give by text, or just Life Impact INTL. So it's Life Impact International, but INTL.org, and you can give there. And if you do give today, please just add in the memo line #BabyReynolds so that we can kind of have visibility to this event.
And there's a lot of information in the back table if you guys.
Yeah, there's, they have a couple different magazines and brochures so you can read and learn more about what's happening in Thailand and in Brazil. How you can get involved. And then we're here, let us know if you have any questions. I think my wife and I both have been to Thailand now 3 times. So happy to answer any questions. And it's a heavy topic, but my hope and my faith is in a God who's powerful. So we trust and hope in the God, the creator God, who's, even though there's a lot of sin and evil in the world, that I will trust and believe that God has a bigger plan. There is hope. We change just one life at a time.
And also, big donations help a lot. Just saying. That's really helpful. So that's all we got, it sounds like. Thanks for coming. And check out the table, get some snacks, some desserts, and we're gonna cut a cake. Got one?